Hi, I'm Liz.
And I'm Rhea.
Welcome to Karma's My Bitch, a podcast about love,
Sex,
connection,
abundance,
joy,
purpose,
peace,
and how life isn't simply the stories we tell ourselves.
Kindness really does take us out of our power. It's the overused backbone of happiness.
Why is it overused?
It becomes one of those, when you get to a certain point in your consciousness, you're like, okay, I can just be kind to everyone. Or if you want to overcome something through this kind of like mindfulness, sort of gratitude things, you know, kindness is right there with it, right? Like in this situation, I'm just going to infuse it with kindness.
And look,
right?
It does work.
They go low, you go high. But, you know, and kindness always seems to be one of those factors in that equation.
But then obviously it's harder when you are in oneness and you do think to yourself, well, I can see where they're coming from. And you're like, we're going to change their mind anyway, so cool. But the issue is that I started finding myself like, well, am I just going to stay silent then and become a pushover? Or ignore the disrespect that's being flung at me? Because that's also not cool.
No, you don't. Not when it's being flung directly at you, right? I mean, so we had discussed in previous seasons that tolerance is one of the factors or one of the things like harmony that forms the foundation for 5D, right? For oneness consciousness, you do need, well, first of all, you need respect, which also then enables tolerance. Because we are all such distinct, unique individuals, we need tolerance in order for everyone to give space for everyone to exist and thrive. We can't have, like in separation, these rules or standards or judgments that kind of force everybody into boxes to conform and agree with everyone else, right?
Right. If you stand up for an oppressor, but in trying to get someone else to agree with you, you become that oppressor.
So kindness is a true exercise in respect because it's saying, I am treating you in kind. And that is why it is the backbone of happiness.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that will not change, right? Because when I'm treating you as you are treating me, not necessarily in the same way. So it's not as if it's not to say it's an eye for an eye. It's not the same thing. Yeah. Exactly. No, not at all. It's effectively, I am treating you in kind, but it has been morphed and understood into niceness. And niceness is two-faced. That's a different concept. It's actually hypocritical. And when we're being quote unquote nice, it's like saying or doing what we do not want to do, right? Which is what you described. Like I kind of felt like in order for everyone to get along, I just had to be nice, which was effectively giving up my power in this situation.
Which now, by the way, is the opposite. I can still, and I don't know if this is a nuance that needs to be thrown in, but I will do it.
Do it. Because I do think there is that. I think that is a really, what you're going to say is pretty much an important nuance.
Yeah. Because the difference is that when I'm behaving in a way from love, I'm not sublimating my power at all. It's what I want to do. It's what feels right to me. It's how I'm approaching it from a place of the heart, which means I'm still in my power. It's when I go against myself and I tell myself to be quiet in order to keep the peace.
Yes.
That's when I lose the peace within.
It's because you're making a conscious choice. So when you make a choice from your consciousness, you are always in your power.
Exactly, because you're choosing it and you're aware that you're choosing it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as I do really approach my life with love, and I think it's so fucking important, and it's what makes me happy, personally, I'm still the person who's going to road rage. I'm still the person who's going to lose their shit if things don't get done well. I'm still the person who's going to stand up for myself.
Yes.
Because it's about, you can give all the love in the world to other people, but unless you're showing that love back to you as well, then that love is rendered meaningless because it's not coming from you anymore. And now, again, this is not going back to the kind of the old like tests and I love myself, so I'm walking away, and I love myself, so I'm doing this, and all that crap that people do.
Yeah, right? And I will no longer tolerate this.
Exactly.
But it wouldn't be happening if on some level you weren't tolerating it.
Exactly. I want to be my fullest self and my happiest self. And that requires also being myself. So I give you love because I'm capable of giving love, because I am sourcing that love from within. And that love that I'm bringing from within is cultivated because I know who I am in every situation. And if I want to get annoyed, I'll get annoyed because that's still showing my self-love.
Yes. Yeah.
Just as much as if I want to just be like, I get it and it's all good. And I actually don't want a conflict right now because I've got too much on my plate. That's still showing my self-love.
Well, because you're respecting yourself and where you're at, and you're giving yourself space to be in that place as opposed to forcing it and telling yourself, no, I've got to deal with this now. And then really just adding greater tension and disunion and disharmony. I know that's not a word, but in that moment, and that actually just blows up that conflict and makes it a lot worse, right?
And
which doesn't help anyone.
Agreed. And then the other thing is that on top of that, even if I'm getting annoyed, even if I'm losing my total actual mind in anger, right? Mm-hmm. I'm still not treating anyone with disrespect.
Yes. Yeah. That's really important.
Like, that's the bit, is that I understand where you're coming from, and there's space for how you feel.
Yes.
But there's space for how I feel too.
Yes.
But only I can create that space.
Yes.
I can honor your space, but I can still only create it for myself. I can't wait for you to create the space for how I feel by like silent treatmenting it or pouting or just being secretly upset and then extra resenty when you don't. I create the space for how I feel. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean I take away your space at the same time.
No. Nor do I impose how I feel upon you.
Not at all.
Which is really, really key. And again, that goes back to this is not, treating one in kind is not an eye for an eye.
If I end up trying to impose onto you how I feel, then I'm out of integrity.
Mm-hmm. But it's interesting because you get to a certain point in consciousness and there's a lot of people who, you know, they take the passive approach. Well, I'm so evolved, I'm so conscious that I am so like the quote unquote divine that you can't do anything to hurt me because I'm really not of this world.
Yeah, and you know, the divine sees all, the divine accepts all, so I accept you and see you. But how are we going to change the world with that?
Right. I mean, the latter point that you just made is true. So I'm like,
no,
it's true.
But it's in like, I'm not going to do anything because I'm just going to sit here and accept it all.
Yeah.
You know, like
that
you have all these religious
violence.
Images.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to stand here and let you pelt stones at me and just stand here and be like bloodied.
Okay with it?
And I'm okay with it because your consciousness dictates that pelting stones is okay and mine doesn't.
Exactly.
So I'm just going to stand here. Well, no, how are we going to change anything if we're just allowing the ugliest bits of our society to rule because the people who can see differently are saying nothing?
Yeah, precisely. And that's really important because I think sometimes our growth and evolution depends upon us standing up for ourselves. It depends upon us having the consciousness to such a degree that we're willing to do something about it when we're being hurt and we know that that is out of disrespect and out of integrity. And sometimes treating others in kind is how we maintain our respect and integrity. Mm-hmm. Right?
Because the issue is otherwise it unravels. Yeah. You allow it, and then eventually you blow up and you wreck everything. And we want to maintain our relationships if they bring us joy. We don't want to blow them up. Yeah.
And what we've been seeing since about 2016, I mean, we've seen it all as a result of separation for eons, but
in our faces. It's
all in our faces since, well, effectively 2017 to be more specific.
Why? What happened in 2017?
I don't know. They're just giving me 2017. I mean, I saw a flash of 2016 and I was like, really? Was it? And they're like, well, technically 2017. So I'm like, fine. Is that there are all these stories being played out that because of separation, we're having to really have that reckoning. And so what we're seeing so much of is just all this anger. Yeah. And remember, suppressed anger is really what is rage. And so we're not saying an act of kindness is to rage at your neighbor. No. Okay. Whatever it is. And I don't mean just verbally rage, but I also just mean the sort of physical violence that's also taking place. Because this is not about the revenge plot. Like, okay, now I'm going to do, you know, I've done my karmic undoing process and I'm going to turn around and I'm just going to like put it out there and just lay it on thick for people so they understand that I deserve respect. That's not what we're doing here. And that's not what we're talking about. Remember, we're kind of at a place in our evolution where we're on the path to happiness.
Yeah.
We've gone through our karmic undoing process. A lot of what we're seeing right now is a result of a karmic story, not a post-karmic story. Yeah. So I do think that distinction has to be made so people really understand that, you know, blowing up our world is not necessarily the kindness we're talking about. But we just do have to understand that when we're standing up and defending our integrity and we're standing up for and expressing our self-respect, we're also taking responsibility for our role in whatever has happened. So we cannot play a victim. Like,
What do you mean by taking responsibility for a role, whatever took place?
Okay, well, it takes at least two to create a situation at a minimum. Sometimes what we'll do is we'll attach ourselves to a larger story that, something that happened to our community, to those, who share our ethnicity, even if we're in a different country, et cetera. And we might take on the mantle of the cause when effectively, has it really directly impacted us or not? Now, I'm not saying we disassociate from some injustice, but at the same time, we have to understand, what role are we playing in here? Are we fueling the fire, or are we actually really putting it out? Where, what is our position? And we have to take responsibility for that choice.
Yeah. And some people will say, I want to fuel the fire. I want them to hurt. I want them to feel what I feel. And for me, kind of, I'm like, well, you're owning it. So cool beans.
Yeah, exactly.
At least own it. Because the other issue that you have, which I think is more toxic, is when you channel all that rage from your own life into a cause or into something.
Yes.
And then you other everyone. Mm-hmm. Right. And then at the same time, you're naturally also playing the victim, which is what you said. There is a fine line between kind of having a backbone and knowing that that backbone is like the key to our happiness, because then we can, behave in line with our true selves and act in line with our true selves. And that's really important, as we said in episode 1, self-expression.
Yeah, it's incredibly important.
Yeah.
That is really like the crux of this episode.
But at the same time...
And you're like, and la la la. And I'm
you're like the crux of it all. But at the same time, it's also about understanding that we can't keep fueling the same shit over and over again whilst pretending we're not aware of it. Yeah,
because why is this helping me? Like, if I really feel like my actions, my behaviors, my attitudes are really helping me, we have to have that clarity. We have to really know and be honest with ourselves. Am I doing this because I'm in pain? And I'm just trying to find a way to express it.
Yeah. Or am I an empath and I don't like feeling all other people's pain? Or is there something going on that I feel I'm not being able to stand up for myself in one way, so I'm going to stand up for myself in the other? Or is it my ego, if it's, in the calmer times? Or is it simply a misguided sense of my mission?
Yes, exactly. And that's really, really important as well. Our purpose and our missions do not depend upon us to ever fling out harm on another person. Ever, 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 ever.
Because then we're just continuing the cycle of abuse.
Yeah. Our choice to do that is born from perhaps a sense of justice, right? Which is a distorted interpretation of our purpose or mission. And that's okay. We can allow for space and honor that. Life in separation is really, really hard. And it is really hard when the shit's in your face. It is hard when you've come out the other end of your own karmic undoing process and your story, and you think, well, I really want everyone else to kind of get to this place of freedom. So fuck everyone else and all those people who are preventing people from ever getting there, right?
But then the space, and actually this is what I realized, I want more than that. Yes, I want peace now, but I want peace in a new world, in a better world. And that, because I want more, because I choose for more and to stand for more. And that's how I'm standing up for myself, because myself is more. I want more, I want more, I want more, right?
Yes.
Then actually approaching someone the same way with rage and hurting them, it's not going to give me the more long term. It's going to give me silence maybe now, or it's not going to work. So whilst there's always space for everyone to play exactly as they want to play until they're ready to stop playing or whatever, I'm here holding the space for more. Yeah. A bigger world. And that feels in line with my purpose and my mission, because that feels in line with true justice, which is a better world, not just a better solution to this one situation, whatever that situation
whatever it is. Exactly. That's very well said. And that's actually something that I think it will take a long time for a lot of people to really wrap their heads around.
100%.
Because all the solutions we've ever been able to conceive of have always been rooted in separation. So anytime we bring separation into something, even if it seems like a forward-moving solution, something that will allow us to get to the next thing, it's still steeped in enough separation. It's still going to bring more separation into it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Right. And look, I'll tell you the one thing I hate being called, but I'm being called it upon the regular is naive.
Bless you.
All the time. I mean, look, I've been called naive ever since we started this. I'm like, follow your heart. Your life works out fine. She's so fucking naive. You know, oh, we can all figure out a new way. Peace and harmony for all. She's so naive. But actually, if I came here for love, if I came here to stand up for love, if I came here to be that, then I'm going to be fine. Call me naive. But someone has to hold the space for it. Because otherwise, what space is left? And that's the thing. Like, tolerance was always confused with like allowing. You know, when we spoke about tolerance before, and I know that I was like, oh, it's just allowing someone else to do something, or allowing this, or allowing that.
Putting up with something, but putting up with something is like really like not even allowing. That's just like, okay, fine.
But actually, what I've realized is if I want that more, I can't allow a world to be ruled by tyrants. So we're all being quiet. The people, you know, we're all being quiet so that the loudest people win. How is that any different from anything else we've ever done? How is that a different take on power? What is really power? What is really tolerance? What is really compassion? What are those things actually? Those things actually are not morality tells us this is right and that's wrong again.
Yeah.
If
but
we
when
really
we
want
just
to come into
shift,
harmony, everyone just needs to figure out who they are and focus on creating their worlds. Because actually there's enough space in this world for everyone's worlds.
There really is.
We've just been told that there isn't. So we keep fighting for space that we don't need to fight for. We're fighting over a corner of a room where there's a whole rest of the room available.
But effectively, the story is the same.
Yeah, and look, don't get me wrong. All those stories happened, and they are all, in some ways, victims. But there are more. And everyone is a victim when we're in separation.
Absolutely.
Because everyone is unhappy when we're in separation. So until we see that we're all, at our core, souls that love and want to be loved and share love, we're not going to get anywhere. And as I said, you can't create peace from agony. It doesn't work.
And effectively, we're all here and all capable of a harmonious life, whatever that looks like. Yeah. But we're not going to get there if we're constantly playing the roles of victim or oppressed or poor, which is what, you know, these tent poles have pretty much fed off of, right? The tent poles that keep separation propped up.
I mean, look at religion, you know, like everyone's identifying themselves by the religion, even within the religions. I mean, look at, fine now, like Christianity seems like it's like everyone's friends. But like there were times that Protestants and Catholics were like ripping each other's heads out. At the end of the day, we're too old to be fighting crusades.
You know, standing up for ourselves, which is, again, an act of kindness. That is really what kindness looks like.
Yeah, I'm treating myself like the divine. I am in kind. I'm giving my divinity in kind to myself.
Exactly. And thus you, because I am, by my actions, by whatever it is I know I'm meant to do from this conscious place, by the way, I am also giving you the space to really step into your light, which is what you are not doing at the moment. By not standing up for myself, I'm not necessarily treating you in kind, or this is not an act of kindness because I am allowing you to stay in that place.
And I'm allowing you to keep judging and flinging out your shit and
where I can
be a target.
Well, I'm not necessarily acknowledging your potential either.
Why does one need humility in order to be able to approach this in this way through the redemption arc? Is because there's a lack of judgment within it. Right?
Yeah. I
don't judge you for feeling the way you do. I don't think you're bad or evil or wrong. I don't agree with you, but I'm not going to silence you in order to make my voice heard, right? And it's that piece that actually allows for a lot of the separation to untangle. Because with humility comes compassion. Yeah. With compassion comes
I think
tolerance.
compassion is what breeds humility.
Yeah, fine. Compassion is with.
In that,
together.
I was going to say, you know, one kind of leads to the other, which then.
Yeah. But
if you want to go in
order.
order.
At the same time, with all of that, it's like, but I'm not going to stop being me just because you're standing there in front of me with a weapon and you weren't held as a child. I'm still going to be me. If I have to die for me, I will. And asking me to guidance, what does standing up for myself mean? It's that. I will live as me or die trying.
Precisely. Because you have to be the fullest expression of who you are.
Thank you for listening. For more information, articles, and inspiration, find us at karmasmybitch.com and at karmasmybitch.insta.
And if you liked what you heard, please subscribe and leave us a review.